What happens if the world runs out of fresh water? Every minute, humanity consumes over 1 million gallons of fresh water. From the water in your glass to the food on your plate, everything depends on this essential resource. But what if one day it was gone? A world without fresh water isn't just a distant nightmare, it's a looming possibility. How would this catastrophic scenario unfold? And what could humanity do to survive? This is the story of a global water crisis that could reshape the course of human history. Water covers 70% of our planet. But here's the catch. Less than 1% of it is fresh and drinkable. That tiny fraction sustains every single life form you see today. From sprawling cities to the smallest ecosystems, fresh water is the backbone of our civilization. But here's the problem. By 2025, nearly 1.8 billion people will live in areas of absolute water scarcity, and 2/3 of the world's population will experience stress from shrinking supplies. A water crisis isn't science fiction. It's already happening. But what if it got worse? What if we woke up one day and the world's fresh water supplies were gone? Let's dive into the science, the consequences, and the frightening possibility of a world without water. Where does our fresh water come from? Rivers, lakes, and underground reservoirs make up the majority of our supply. But these sources are under relentless pressure. Climate change is accelerating glacial melt, which feeds billions of people, while industrial pollution is poisoning rivers and lakes. And then there's over-irrigation, using more water for crops than the land can sustain. Globally, agriculture consumes about 70% of all freshwater resources. To produce just 1 kilogram of beef, it takes over 15,000 liters of water. The water we use isn't just in what we drink. It's hidden in what we eat, wear, and buy. But it's not just farming. As cities grow and industries expand, the demand for water skyrockets. Right now, humans extract 4 trillion cubic meters of water annually. But much of this comes from groundwater reserves that take centuries to replenish. We're effectively drinking from a bank account we can't refill. In 2018, Cape Town, South Africa, became the first major city to nearly run out of water. The government implemented extreme rationing, limiting each person to just 50 liters per day. To put that in perspective, an average shower uses about 65 liters. They called it Day Zero, and it was a warning to the world. In India, 600 million people face high to extreme water stress, with some communities walking miles every day to fetch water. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar rely almost entirely on expensive desalination plants to survive. And then there's the geopolitical aspect. In regions like the Nile Basin and the Euphrates-Tigris system, nations are already clashing over shared water resources. As supplies dwindle, conflicts over rivers and reservoirs could become the norm. What happens if we run out? Let's imagine the worst-case scenario. What would happen if the world's fresh water supplies were to disappear entirely? The first and most immediate effect would be on food production. Without water, crops fail. Livestock dies. Global food supplies would plummet, leading to skyrocketing prices and widespread famine. Next, cities would become uninhabitable. In a water-scarce world, major urban centers like Los Angeles, São Paulo, and Beijing would face mass migrations as people search for livable conditions. Refugee crises on an unimaginable scale would unfold. With millions displaced and resources dwindling, political instability would explode. Nations might go to war over what little water remains. The term water wars would no longer be a headline. It would be our reality. Even on a smaller scale, the effects would be devastating. Hygiene would collapse without running water, triggering outbreaks of deadly diseases. Hospitals, schools, and businesses would shut down. The very fabric of society would unravel. Can humanity survive? Is there hope? Yes, but only if we act now. Technology offers some solutions. Desalination plants, which convert seawater into drinkable water, are already helping countries like Israel and the UAE. But desalination is energy intensive and expensive. Scaling it worldwide would be a monumental challenge. Another approach is efficiency. Drip irrigation, rainwater harvesting, and wastewater recycling can drastically reduce water wastage. Cities like Singapore are leading the way with closed-loop water systems that recycle every drop. And then there's nature itself. Protecting wetlands, restoring forests, and preserving glaciers are critical. These natural systems store and purify water, acting as Earth's life support. But perhaps the most crucial step is addressing climate change. Rising temperatures are drying out rivers and melting ice caps. With